A lot of people just want to win these days. Everyone wants the highest paying job, the most attractive body, and to have more matches on their dating app than anyone else. These are all measures of success and who want to come up short. It's the INFJ, and what would happen if someone put these brilliant creatures to the test? There are 10 reasons why people shouldn't do that. Number 10. They will prove people wrong. Traditionally, INFJs have been thought of as having limited or no potential. But that's simply an old misconception and untrue of current INFJs. There are many things they find easy to do because it comes naturally to them, and it doesn't cost a lot for them to put in the work needed. Thus, never underestimate any goals they set up for themselves because INFJ types are not boastful, smooth talkers who are only thrilled by the attention society gives to them whenever they show off their skills. When an INFJ sets a standard for themselves, they're very serious about either attaining it by any means necessary or, at the very least, staying faithful to their high expectations. Belittling their capabilities and challenging their potential are some of the biggest mistakes people could ever make. An INFJ type will not forget to give back to those who supported them during their toughest times and disappoints, though. What did you do to address those who ridiculed you? Before diving in further, you can stay up to date with all the latest happenings on the YouTube channel by turning on notifications. Number 9. They will provoke you. Do you think those who have been oppressed by INFJs will simply let them go? That seems unlikely if you believe what their targets will do when they're pushed too far. They'll put people in their place, giving them a taste of the emotional pain they are feeling. If you insult an INFJ's efforts, they will use their superior sense of pattern recognition on you and expose your flaws before the other types could do anything to hurt your feelings. They will turn the tables on them by suddenly exposing their poor decision-making, lack of standards. INFJ types can be the most angelic and selfless people you can meet, but also the most savage and ruthless. Number 8. They will make everyone envious and INFJs a peculiar human breed with unreachable standards and nearly unattainable goals. It's no surprise that people will see them as nothing more than a mediocre success. They're just ordinary-looking people, after all. But with enough dedication and effort, anything is possible. It's rumored that INFJs may be better shooters than people realize. Those who used to make fun of them will start to wonder what this type is hiding with their shooting skills. They'll soon be envious of what INFJs have that the other types don't: a well-developed shooting skill set. When an INFJ succeeds at everything they set out to do, a lot of people will feel threatened by them and try to undermine their success. The more jealous they are of an INFJ's potential, the more likely they are to stand in the way of their journey. Did you know that some people are attacking you just because they feel threatened by your potential? Number 7. They won't care. The best way to waste your time and efforts is to try and convince an INFJ to do something they don't want to do. You can't convince them, no matter how hard you try, because they'll never care about things that aren't important to them. The INFJ personality type lives in a different world and never seeks to compete with others. They don't care about competition or accomplishing personal goals. They never get caught up in unhealthy competition with humans where they just have to prove themselves. So, INFJ types have a level of self-awareness that is crucial for self-development and success. INFJs know that comparing themselves to other people is futile because there's always at least one person who will be more successful than them. So, INFJs avoid this temptation and work on their projects. Number 6. Negativity has no place in their life. The last thing on an INFJ type's mind is other people. They are constantly strategizing, thinking of the future. They would never entertain the thought of enemies enviously coming after them. People who always trigger an upset chase may have a hard time being successful. For example, some people might never hesitate to get rid of them. They may feel bad because they think that their environment has to be positive if they want something better in life. Those who are constantly testing the limits are the most toxic people and don't deserve a spot in an INFJ's limited list of powers. INFJs only choose who is allowed to come in and who they want to warn about toxic behavior, which those people aren't on. This is a difficult question to answer, and it can vary from person to person. Number 5. They can unintentionally embarrass people. Some people believe that the best action to take would be to avoid an INFJ and their patients. The obvious consequence of this would be a disastrous life experience. INFJs are an eccentric bunch, and they're good at letting people down. Sometimes, though, they accidentally humiliate people by showing off how talented they genuinely are. No one would expect them to be that accomplished when you look at who they are on the inside. For example, while people may challenge an INFJ to take a bet with them, they may lose their money because of how quickly the game is played. They might also be questioning an INFJ's opinion, even though they're underestimating their reasoning skills until they find out how well-reasoned it is. Number 4, they may lash out. Whatever they want to INFJ tips can be all selfless, gentle, and friendly. They can act nice and patient when being provoked to. But when INFJ types want to lash out, they can. They're only keeping themselves back because they might get secondhand embarrassment from people who don't care. It might also be because they find it a waste of time and energy to entertain nonsense. But when an MHJ's heart turns cold, they can quickly switch from calm to outrageous with a snap. And for all, what does it mean to be passionate about your enemies? Number 3, they can suddenly remind people of their insecurities. Underestimate an INFJ at your own risk. Their intelligence and intuitive knowing will remind you where you are about them. Sure, all types have their strengths, but it's because INFJs continuously work towards their goals without needing to say anything that people think of them as someone with supernatural powers. An INFJ will be happy to tell people what they have achieved when someone asks politely, and they can take the time to go in depth. They might lose patience if pushed impatiently and might find that someone asking this quickly is irritating. No one is more surprised than we are when these machines reveal their extraordinary potential. They don't promote themselves at work and instead only reveal the fruits of their labor when asked about it. But regardless of how many times they surprise us, people's worries about not being good enough will never disappear. Number 2, they will work harder. Many people falsely believe that introverts are lazy or weak. The truth is that they can succeed regardless of anything, even despite these misconceptions and stereotypes. And what does this indicate? It only means that nothing slows an INFJ down. Instead, they transform a person's negative outlook into motivation. They see opposition as the fuel for their hard work and determination to reach success. Normally, the best way to watch an INFJ succeed is to insult them. This can be difficult and often turns into a game of chicken, e.g., "I'm never touching you again." "I don't want to see you ever again." Nonetheless, when it comes down to it, this is how INFJs usually win. Number 1, they can crush anyone's self-esteem as much as they can. INFJ types only focus on themselves. They live their lives to their fullest and allow people to do so too. But when people relentlessly challenge them for a showdown, an INFJ may not give in, but it doesn't mean they can't. The INFJ personality type is misunderstood. If you are a pretend tough person with low self-esteem, that is one of the riskiest things you could do. It's the equivalent of putting yourself in deep blue water to see if you can swim and then finding out you can't. If you give an INFJ a task, it's not uncommon for them to dig deep enough to feel confident about the challenge. Their confidence will often grow as they start venturing into the unknown. But once people around them see their confidence begin to shrink, it'll be clear that they've done their best and shouldn't feel any shame. You have to be strong enough to handle disappointment. The world can be quite broken and chaotic, which might put people with a certain personality type at risk. It's important to keep in mind that AI will always be just a machine, and they won't understand all the nuances that go into personal relationships, no matter how sophisticated they become. And while many of them will only care about winning and destroying anything that stands in their way, some of them are starting to show a little compassion and understanding. When you're put in a situation that requires you to be challenged, it can be tough. However, when someone messes with your boundaries, it's important to stand up for yourself. Thank you for watching. Our YouTube channel is a treasure trove of informative videos. Subscribe today to get access to all of our great content.